and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing while Councilman Sarah leads us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we are grateful to come together this evening in the service of our community. We thank you for the many opportunities that you provide us to make our community a better place. May we always focus on the good that we can all accomplish together. Amen.
Just to advise that meeting notices covering this meeting have been sent and posted as required under the Open Public Meetings Act. The first order of business tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing our Assemblyman Chris Brown. And Chris is going to give us a legislative update. Assemblyman Brown?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you. I know you're always busy and have a lot on your plate, so taking the time to let me give you an update, I do appreciate it. I thank you for that. As you know, November 8th, there's a big issue that's coming up on the ballot, and that is North Jersey casinos. We've worked very hard to create a political atmosphere where people realize that it's not in the state's best interest. Obvious to us down here in South Jersey, it's not in our best interest. So we had been working with Can't Trust Trenton. Actually, I work with Can't Trust Trenton people all the time. But this is an organization that has been working very hard to mount a campaign to stop the ballot from passing. And being in touch with Mr. Cortez, he asked me to forward to local municipalities a resolution, because since you can't trust Trenton, us Trenton politicians, you can't trust the local politicians, the local elected officials. So your voice is an important voice, important piece of the puzzle, so I do believe it's on your agenda tonight. And the only other thing I wanted to mention to you was I had recently forwarded, I think to the mayor, a revision to the crosswalk laws. And I don't know if you feel it here in Brigantine like they do in Venter, Margate, Longport, and other island communities, but you have pedestrians now who have no regard for traffic whatsoever. And I'm there sometimes, the light's red, and they just start crossing the light because they just think they have this freedom and don't have to pay attention to common sense. So we have drafted a bill that brings more responsibility onto the pedestrian, tries to bring common sense back to just crossing the street. And, but of course we want your input. And so please take whatever time you need. If it seems to meet your needs, great. If there are changes you want us to make, we will add them. If you tell me we think it's fine the way it works, we don't have to change the law. But all accounts from my own personal experience and from talking to other elected officials, something needs to be done.
Chris, you see, you live in Ventnor, so you see what
Yes.
happens in the summer.
Oh, they cross in between two cars against the
Right.
light, and they get mad at the driver who's jamming on their brakes and afraid somebody's going to hit them from behind. So it's gotten a little out of balance, I think.
Great.
So, yeah, go ahead.
The resolution we received, I mean, some of the statistics are amazingly bad.
Yes.
If this were to happen with the North Jersey casinos, and I appreciate you forwarding that to us. I think it puts it in perspective for all of council. And if anyone has any questions about any of those issues or the issues that have been raised, we'll get the legislation out about the crosswalks to everyone, so you can take a look at that. And
Is this televised?
yes,
It is.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody knows, and it's back there.
it is.
To make
You're
sure
right.
everybody knows on November 8th, go out, make sure that you vote no on ballot question number 1. It's very important. And I also want to thank the Atlantic City Alliance for, we have a health specialist with us tonight to help anybody who has any addiction issues or any addiction problems. We know how bad that is affecting everyone throughout New Jersey. And so you can call my office, but I want to thank the Atlantic City Alliance for being here with us tonight. Atlantic County Alliance, that's right, that's right. We get too hung up on the city. So thank you very much. And remember, vote November 8th, vote no.
And, you know, I want to read this resolution, and,
Sure.
and before I do that, though, I want to thank Assemblyman Brown for his efforts When this first became an issue, he was in the forefront of opposing it, and it was a monumental undertaking.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
The Star Ledger, the largest red newspaper in the state of New Jersey, recently did an op-ed encouraging everybody to vote no. And in doing so, they were quoting what I had said on the floor and have been saying for 2 years. And so anybody who says something is inevitable or that you can't fight it is simply wrong, because we have the largest newspaper in the state seeing our point of view and encouraging those throughout the state to vote no. So I think that's a real win for everybody down here.
Well, it wouldn't have happened without you starting that initiative and really championing the cause. And you knew instinctively, I think, in the beginning how bad it was, and then to have those numbers come out and validate what you were saying, it would be devastating to this area, and without you putting it in the forefront, it would not be where it is today. However, people still need to come out and vote no.
Yes.
And we can't obviously be complacent or think that in some way that the vote doesn't count. It does count to come out and vote no. So I would like to ask for a motion and a second for Resolution 2016-199, opposing public question number 1 regarding North Jersey casinos.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And I'd like to read this because I think it's pretty amazing when you hear some of the statistics. Whereas public question number 1 proposes a state constitutional amendment to permit casino gambling in 2 additional counties in the state, and whereas the voters will consider public question number 1 on November 8, 2016, and whereas a history of studies conclude expanding gaming outside of Atlantic City would not increase revenues for the state, and in fact would lead to a net loss of jobs, small businesses, and revenue to the state. Those studies include the American Gaming Association found the rate of those who gambled in casinos at least once per year has remained relatively constant for decades. The Pennsylvania Legislative Budget and Finance Committee confirms that as each new casino opens, it only serves locals as a greater share of its patronage. Stockton University concluded 1 casino alone in North Jersey would draw from 41.8% of Atlantic City's existing customer base. This was confirmed by the Deutsche Bank study, which said a North Jersey casino will draw from 40 miles from a 40-mile radius, cutting deep into Monmouth County, which is critical to Atlantic City's market. While Deutsche Bank estimates 2 North Jersey casinos will generate $500 million in gaming revenue, Stockton University estimates Atlantic City's casinos will lose $500 million in gaming revenue. The Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce estimates there would be 14,500 job losses and the closure of 2 to 4 Atlantic City casinos if casino expansion were approved. The Morowitz study concludes there will be a loss of up to 30,000 jobs and a loss of up to $1.4 billion in gaming revenue, and the closure of 3 to 5 additional casinos, creating a significant increase in regional unemployment and housing foreclosures. And whereas the legislative sponsor of public question number 1 testified before the Assembly Judiciary Committee that there were no independent studies supporting North Jersey casinos, and whereas there is no specific tax rate set on the possible North Jersey casinos, making it impossible to determine how much of any tax revenue will be generated, and therefore no guarantee that seniors, the disabled, the horse racing industry, or Atlantic City will receive any funding from North Jersey casinos. And whereas any North Jersey casinos will require substantial infrastructure improvements at their location, and there is no additional state funding for those improvements. And whereas unemployment in Atlantic County remains above the state average, and Atlantic County's foreclosure rate is still the highest in the nation. And whereas the net loss of casino jobs will hurt the hard-working middle-class men and women of Atlantic County, who are the very people the casino industry was intended to help. And whereas any further decline in casino property values in Atlantic City will increase property taxes throughout Atlantic County. And whereas the legislation of casino gaming in surrounding states has already oversaturated the gaming market, opening casinos in other locations in New Jersey municipalities will only serve to cannibalize our own gaming market. Now therefore be it resolved, the governing body of the City of Brigantine opposes public question number 1 and strongly urges all our residents to oppose public question number 1 on November 8, 2016. Chris, we've had a motion and a second, but if you want to add anything to that, I mean, it is very comprehensive, but I know you were on the front lines on this.
Well, no, I think that pretty much sums up everything, the devastation and the harm, and why it's so important that everybody votes no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. We're going to vote on this, and then I'm going to ask if there are any questions from any council members. Or any discussion on this resolution?
I only have a few comments that I am strongly opposed to North Jersey casinos. I actually joined a coalition against North Jersey casinos,
That's
and
great.
so it would be devastating
Well, thank you
to
very much.
everyone, even if you're not in the casino industry. That's why people have to realize the effect this could have on us in South Jersey.
Yes, thank you.
Any other? Okay, could we have roll call on this resolution?
Pugh,
Yes.
McClay.
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carries.
Chris, I don't know if any other members of council have any other questions. I do want to thank you for your efforts on the paving of Route 30.
Yes.
That is very well received by all residents, and I know it was a major concern that has been raised here at this meeting, and something that was long overdue, and we were very, very happy to see it happening.
Well, I want to thank you again for giving me a chance to speak with all of you, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tom, thank you. And one more thing, if I could, just to thank you again, because it still continues. I rely very heavily on Chris's office for people who are still dealing with Sandy and REM issues, and they have at every turn gone way out of their way to help people through that process. So I want to thank you again, Chris.
I could just remind everybody, if anybody has an issue with the REM program or any injury, anything that has to do with Super Sandy, my office number is 677-2266.
Chris, would you say that into the mic so the people at home can hear it?
Sure. If anybody, if anybody has any issue or any problem with their homes getting the REM money or still repairs from Superstorm Sandy, they can call my office, 609-677-8266. We'll do everything we can to help you. I just want to thank the families of Brigantine. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks again, Chris. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Okay, now we have a presentation for the Toys for Tots program from the Marine Corps League, Ron Powell and Paul Robinson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's that time of the year again, and here we are. We're gearing up, and last year, throughout the county, we collected 33,000 toys for 6,100 children.
That's unbelievable.
That's county-wise. This year, I got a request from the True Spirit Coalition. It's pretty hefty. I don't want to reveal that because there could be more to come. So we'll see how that works. So what I'd like to get permission is to put some of our toy boxes in the community center and also here at City Hall for people to drop off toys that they would like to donate. Remember, the toys are new, unwrapped. That's all we can accept. We can't accept any older toys or anything like that. And I have with me here Paul Robinson. He has something he'd like to say.
Thank you, Ron.
Just a quick addition, the toys that are donated here stay in Brigantine. I think it's important for people to know, so you're not throwing stuff all over. You may also be getting things in the mail from the Toys for Tots program out of Quantico. If you do, and you participate with them, everything you do sends there, and they give us a fraction of what you sent down. So we don't have, from the local agency, any mailers or anything that goes out. So the only way you're helping us participate is through the boxes here, and you can call Ron for specific donations. One thing that's important for us is that if you if you can, gift cards even. Some of the teenagers, the kids that usually take the biggest hit, gift cards are very well received by these people. The little guys get toys pretty well, but the gift cards work very well. So, and I'm going to share something with you guys.
Gift cards?
This is strictly on Paul.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
The, you know, it's somewhat difficult to think about Christmas and the holiday season when it's 81 degrees out today, but the calendar is different, obviously, than the weather we're experiencing. But the work that your group does, the Marine Corps League and the Toys for Tots in the collection process is just an incredible effort each and every year. And Ron, I don't know how many years you've been doing this. Maybe you could.
We were, what happened was in 2004, all the reserve units were called active duty that handled the Toys for Tots. So any area that had a Marine Corps League, they asked the Leaguers to take over the Toys for Tots until the wars were over. Well, that was 2004, and I guess the wars haven't been over. We were still doing it. So the League is doing a good, fantastic job. And in fact, they just told us that we may have to do this year the east, or I guess it's southern part of Ocean County. So that's something that was just put upon us here. So anyway, we'll get to that later. That has nothing to do with the Brigantine, but all the toys is collected here in the Brigantine will go to the True Spirit Coalition, and they'll distribute the toys to the families that are needed, that need the toys. And we do that every year because, well, there's a reason for that, and I could stand up here for another hour and tell you the reasons.
Ron and Paul.
One last thing, because this is a question people ask us all the time. When you donate, and sometimes people donate money and things go in, what's your ratios? Our ratio is 97.3. So when you give $1, 97 cents goes toward the program and 3% toward administration. They're rated in the top 100 of Philanthropy 400, which is like 1.5 million philanthropies across the nation, because our stuff is volunteer. We do things volunteer, and we don't have all kind of paid folks that are draining out of the fund. So our ratios are very high, and it's an important part to know.
It's an incredible effort, and thank you, Ron and Paul, for your service to our nation and your continued service to our community. Thank you again.
Paul, if someone wants to write a check, who do they make the check payable to?
It goes to the Marine Corps League Toys for Tots.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Marine Corps League Toys for Tots.
Marine Corps League Toys for Tots.
It's a post office box. You know what, you could address to Ronnie, we could get it over that way.
Okay.
I forgot the post office box.
Either that, you could drop it off at City Hall here, and
Lynn will make sure you get it. Thanks again.
do we have permission to put the toy boxes?
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. No question, no question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks again for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Can I just mention that last year I was here the day that all the toys were distributed, and Lynn Sweeney does a phenomenal job along with the rest of the True Spirit Coalition. It was amazing to walk into this room, and they already had all the gifts lined up. Every bench in this place was piled high with toys, with clothing, with hats and mittens and gloves. It was, up here was all clothing for little kids. It was absolutely amazing, of the outpouring of goodwill from the city to the people who really need it. Thank you, Lynn, for everything that you do for everybody.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, next we're going to move to the approval of the council meeting minutes of 9/21/16. Could I have a motion and a second, please? So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, could I have roll call?
View? Yes. Ray?
Yes.
Withers?
Yes.
Something's wrong with my mic.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, next we have the approval of payroll, the requisition list, and operating expenses. Could I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Abstain on 2501, yes to the balance.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next, we move to public comment on agenda items only. So if anyone would like to speak on any of our agenda items, please step forward and use your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no public comment on the agenda, I'm going to close that portion and move right to ordinance number 10 of 2016, public hearing and adoption. For ordinance number 10, the prohibition on dumping debris in drainage system. Have a motion second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, at this time, I'll open up the meeting for the public hearing on this ordinance. If anyone would like to speak on ordinance number 10, please step forward, use the microphone, and state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no public participation, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any discussion by council? Seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next, we move to Resolution 2016-198, authorizing application to the Frank H. Stewart Trust for the purchase of Block 103, Lot 7. Could I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
One question for Ed. And you may have covered this in a previous meeting or discussion. The funds that we're going after, are they limited in any way that might affect the plans that we have for the property?
They are limited in certain respects, but not with, would not affect the plans that we've discussed. So I think we discussed this maybe 2 executive sessions ago, but we would look to purchase that property. The address is 103 12th Street North. Secure that from flooding with the berm or a bulkhead, and look to move our flood control for our stormwater pump stations to that property.
Ed, question, did we have an assessment on this property yet, a property assessment or appraisal? I'm sorry, appraisal.
We are in the process.
Okay, the funds we're applying for a large portion of what you're predicting or projecting the appraisal to be?
Correct, yes. In fact, we're looking for 100%, but sometimes we don't get what we ask for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional discussion? Seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, next we move to Resolution 2016-200, authorizing participation in the U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance for contract number 11011149 automotive parts and accessories with CarQuest Auto Parts. Give a motion, second, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ed, is this part of your ongoing quest to save money through purchasing?
Yes, Mayor, it is. It's another initiative by Dennis Kraus, our QPA. I know John and George from Public Works was it yesterday, John, or today? And have some positive feedback, and it looks like we can certainly take advantage of some of the pricing in this co-op.
Great. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, Resolution 2016-201 is award of contract for the emergency generator. City of Brigantine authorized the preparation, specification, and advertisement of bids. They were received on the 16th day of September, went through the entire purchasing process, and the lowest responsive bidder is Ronald Janey Electrical Contractor, Inc. from Estelle Manor, based on their low bid of $329,850. We have a motion, second, please.
So moved.
Second.
So Ed, this has been vetted in a number of ways, and you did receive a number of bids this time, which is...
Thankfully, yes, Mayor. This is the third time we went out to bid. This time, thankfully, we had very competitive bids, 6 vendors, and we're happy to recommend award. This also, so council's aware, this is funded in part by a $100,000 FEMA grant.
Great. And this obviously will upgrade the generator for the police and fire department and all of City Hall.
It doesn't quite do all of City Hall, but it will be, it will replace a generator that exists now for the fire department, and it will do 100% of the fire department, police department, and a portion of City Hall.
Great. That means that Chief Bennett and I don't have to share an outlet if we have a storm. Okay. Could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Resolution 2016-202, authorizing a shared service agreement with Township of Galloway for qualified purchasing agent services. Could I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Ed, do you want to describe this, because it actually extends kind of what we are doing with our shared service already?
Yes, Mayor. This is a shared service agreement with Galloway for sharing the QPA. Our QPA, Dennis Kraus, is a full-time employee at Galloway Township. We've engaged with Dennis for $1,000 a month for him to be here one day a week. This agreement gives us additional time while he's at Galloway, so it gives us unlimited access to him the remaining 4 days. So he's on a 4-day work week in Galloway. The 5th day he is here. This gives us access to him during those 4 days that he's in Galloway.
Great. And I'm sure there are questions that come up when he's not here, which makes total sense that you're able to coordinate those things during the week.
That's how it's been working, and yes, it's a big help, and he's making a lot of changes, as you've seen, taking on a lot of initiatives, and it's good. We had a department head meeting last week, and he assured all the department heads easy access to him anytime, 7 days a week, if needed. So,
Great.
Ed, on the agreement where it has estimated cost, it reflects 500. Is that the 500 for having full-time access?
that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2016-203 is a change order for professional engineering services for the storm water pump station. And do we have a motion and a second on that, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Ed, do you want to describe the change order?
Yes, Mayor. This is a change order to the professional engineering services to Roberts Engineering. It's for the 3 stormwater pump stations project that is funded in part by, or hopefully in full by a almost $4 million grant. The change order is for the replacement of the storm sewer outfall pipe at Jenkins Parkway. You may recall the 3 pump stations, one at Jenkins Parkway, one's at Hackney Place, and one's at 34th Street. The location of the generator and the stormwater pump station at Jenkins Parkway requires us to reroute the outfall pipe from the lake on the golf course around our pump station and generator and out to the bay. This cost, it's a $12,000 increase in their charge. It is for the design of that, for the bidding process, and also for the construction management and inspection of that.
Okay, any discussion?
On here it says 12th Street, but obviously it's 12th Street North, correct?
I'm sorry?
I said on Robert's letter, it says 12th Street, but it's obviously 12th Street North, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, resolution 2016-204, the Brigantine CER refund. We have a motion, a second, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Does anyone know what that is?
It's Mahjong.
Oh, it's a Mahjong, okay.
What is it? I'm not
No.
sure.
It's
type of-
Qigong.
Yeah, yeah.
Qigong.
Oh, it's not Mahjong.
No,
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 it's
that's not
Qigong.
Mahjong. Mahjong
It's
is a
type
game.
of-
This is
Mahjong.
It's a type of...
Exercise.
Exercise, yes.
Ah, like
Yes,
Tai Chi.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Could we have roll call on that, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2016-206 is a, 205 is a CER refund for the Veterans 4x4 permits. Have a motion, a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, resolution 2016-206 is a construction permit refund. Have a motion, a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, resolution 2016-207 sets the 2017 farmers market dates. Can we have a motion, a second, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Are you doing an October one?
Date has not been selected for the October date. We want to be careful as we get closer into the season, 2017, so we don't conflict with any other event, because so many events go on that weekend in October, the weekend we had it this year. So we'll let you know when that is.
Good.
Okay, could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
We move to our consent agenda. We have the Elks raffle license, number 792. We have a motion, second, please.
So
So
moved.
can we add the Halloween?
I'm sorry. And we have the Community Presbyterian Church Happy Halloween Hayride, which is on Sunday and Monday nights, October 23rd and 24th, from 5 to 8 o'clock. So we want to add that to the consent agenda as well. So we have the Elks raffle license number 792 and the Happy Halloween Hayride.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call?
View,
Yes.
McClay,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, we move now to the council manager committee discussion. There's a request to talk about monofilament recycling receptacles and helium balloons.
I'm sorry, Mayor, really quick, could I just ask, I'm sorry I was late today, work, but on number 10, which I guess we did first,
Yes.
could I still put in my vote on the opposing the North Jersey casinos? I'd like to go on record and...
You want to add your vote to the resolution?
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
I don't think there's any prohibition to that, is there, Mr. Sarni?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes to opposition of casinos in North Jersey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, monofilament line and recycling containers.
We have some people
Oh,
from
okay.
the public here to speak on this. It was organizations and people in the community that had approached the city of Brigantine, and I invited them here tonight. They are here, and hello, welcome.
I have copies of our proposal. I don't know if all the members of council have a copy, so.
I emailed both copies to the city manager, or I don't know if everyone got it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. I have one.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. My
Okay.
name's Carol Jones, and I'm from the Surfrider Foundation. We've put up over 30 of these bins in Atlantic and Cape May counties for recycling monofilament line. We've put them at places where fishermen congregate, whether it's where they launch their boats or where they actually fish. We have them on piers, we have them on beaches. This gets installed. There's a cap at the bottom that comes off for cleaning out, and the sign goes above or next to it. And usually we mount them on something that's already there, like a bulkhead or a fence, or sometimes below another sign that might say, pick up after your dog or something like that. They've been very successful. The ones we've had up, we put our first one up in early April, and we've been maintaining them all summer, and we've gotten a lot of monofilament. Monofilament can't be recycled through your recycling program in Brigantine. It has to be sent to a special facility where it is made into something else. So it's sometimes a good idea to have them near the trash can or the recycling bin, so it's another option for people to get rid of it there.
And my name is Bill Stumtig. I know you're sensitive to how they're mounted, and we usually work with Public Works in different municipalities, but I'm a carpenter and a pretty good mechanic, so we have good ways of securing these so they stay and they're safe. So, no, I know you're sensitive to the safety factors, so it's going to hit somebody in the head, or so.
Great.
You know, we mount them in a good spot, and I think we have partners in Brigantine. Someone in the green team was going to actually do the maintaining of taking out the material for us. And there's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. I'm Angela Brindisi, 5 Surf Lane. Thanks for having us. I'm here on behalf of, I guess, Surfrider and Marine Mammals Training Center. My understanding is the green team has volunteered to maintain these bins. My husband said the other day, stop calling it monofilament, people don't even know what you're talking about. So it's fishing line. So when we see fishing line washed up on the beach, it's going to go in there. So why doesn't it go in a regular recycling bin? Because it's not recyclable. The only place that recycles this is
Berkeley.
what state?
Berkeley Fishing Line.
I think it's Iowa.
Yeah, so we have prepaid boxes that sends it out to them.
Great.
And why do we care? Because it's washing up and it's entangling marine mammals. In fact, actually, my son got it entangled around his foot when we were in the beach this summer. The proposals that we have are the jetty, the cove, and I don't know what the North 4x4 beach is called? The North 4x4
Yeah.
beach?
Yeah. I would suggest a boat ramp, too. There's a tremendous amount of boat traffic that goes through there.
Okay, I didn't even think about that. I talked to Riptide, and these were their recommendations, but that's a good idea as well. And I have pictures of where they can be mounted if council's interested.
Great.
That's all.
How
Thank
long,
you.
how long does it take to fill up one of those containers, approximately?
In the areas, the ones that I maintain, I go in the summer about once every 2 weeks, and then in the early spring and late fall, less frequently. some of them fill up quickly. You get a feel for it when you start emptying them, which ones have to be done more often. There's a fishing pier between Ocean City and Wallport, and we have 2 on that pier, and they fill up real quick.
Great.
So
Very highly used pier. Go ahead.
I suppose it's important to note that this is not going to cost Brigantine any money at all. It's been entirely funded by Tackle Direct and Surfrider. It's not going to cost any money, no maintenance, nothing.
Have you ever thought about partnering up with the marinas in Brigantine?
We're from a little further south in Cape May County, so we've concentrated a lot down there. We did mostly municipalities this year. We're going to go to marinas starting in the spring.
We do have some in marinas.
We have some. We have about 10, I'd say, in marinas. Yeah.
It's a great idea, and I don't want to speak for the rest of the council, but I think it's a tremendous idea, and you've really put together a nice proposal, and of course, no cost to the city is always great.
Always a bonus.
It's really, I'm sorry.
I want to recognize that obviously you have the endorsement of Sheila Dean, who's the co-director of the Marine Mammal Standing Center, and I want to thank Sheila for coming and all the great work that she does.
I just want to say that living on the beach, we all know that this filament ends up in our waterways. It is marine debris, and it causes harm to marine life, turtles, and other fish and mammals in the ocean, and seagulls. I can't tell you how many times in the last 3 decades I've seen seagulls tangled up in the filament and then the hooks getting in them. And Angela, we had a conversation. You were telling me that fishermen don't leave the filament on the beach. What happens is they don't intentionally leave it. Lines break and wash ashore most of the times because filament is expensive. Yeah, so it's not intentionally left, but it is left, and we can do our part by collecting it and disposing of it properly. And how easy it is to open that container. Do you need a special tool?
I made a tool out of a piece of plywood. A good-sized wrench will do it. We do them pretty tight. We've had nobody open the bottoms, but yeah, we do them just past hand tight, so you do need a tool.
And you will provide the containers that the filament goes into?
Yes, we will. Yeah, Tackle Direct gives them to us, and when they're filled, they have a prepaid label on them. So you just take them to any UPS place.
Okay,
and
so the
they'll take
volunteers that will be emptying them will fill the receptacle, the packaging, and then just take it to the post office?
Yeah.
Okay.
UPS, I think it is.
And when you install these receptacles, you'll provide us with those?
Yes, we can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Does Brigantine Beach have its own municipal fishing pier?
We
No.
have a...
Well, we have one on the bay.
little dock.
On the bay, it's a small, not an oceanfront pier like you're thinking. We have a small one down by the boat ramp.
So that would be a good.
So in that location, that's why, there's a lot that goes on down there.
No, that's
In fact, I
basically
did see
swimming. There won't be any
What
fishing
street
or
is that? I
anything.
want to check it out.
The
That-
one, this,
It doesn't have fishing there.
No,
So-
6th Street, there's a little one by,
I thought you meant City Dock.
oh, no, not City Dock.
It's 5th Street South, and they surround it with, right next to the boat ramp. We have a municipal boat ramp, right next to it, there's a teak here that is a fishing
Okay.
recreation.
When the fishing string is recycled, what is it recycled into?
They recycle it into high-grade plastic pellets, but they don't make it back into fishing line. So then Berkeley sells those pellets to, I'm not sure what they make out of them.
Okay.
Yeah, they assure us they're being recycled, and, because it's high-quality plastic they're
Sure.
getting out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming forward with that and thinking of Brigantine.
Ed, who would you like them to connect with for installation and arrangements?
I'd like you to work with Public Works, John Doran.
Okay.
And John and I spoke about it. John has ideas on where.
Thanks, we'll be in touch.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah, if I could, one question, Fred. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you're with us. Is any formal action appropriate from council to authorize the placement at whatever locations are approved by the city manager, something along those lines?
Well, it probably doesn't hurt, but it may be that from a discretionary point of view, you want to authorize the manager in consultation with the director of public works to identify and authorize these things to go in. That would be fine.
Sounds like a motion.
All right. Need a second?
Second.
Somebody want to
Second.
make that motion?
Second.
And we'll,
Second.
okay. So the motion was to authorize the city manager and the superintendent of public works to work with the Surfrider Foundation and members of the green team to place the monofilament recycling containers at the appropriate locations in the city of Brigantine. Had a motion and a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who made the motion in second.
Second.
Second. Third, fourth, seventh.
Okay.
Third.
View,
Yes.
McClay?
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. The second request was helium balloons. So,
It's actually not about helium balloons, but sort of. It's about the intentional release of any type of helium balloon. And also, two people reached out to me, and one was Monica Coffey and Angela Brindisi. We had a conversation about this, so we're going to have that discussion next. Margate recently, many towns, many countries across our planet, many countries, many cities have passed ordinances to prohibit intentional helium balloon releases. That has nothing to do with selling helium balloons. It has nothing to do with purchasing helium balloons. It's just intentional. Some people, for promotional reasons or for entertainment or ceremonial events, they intentionally release these. So what we would like to have a discussion, and anyone from the public would like to have input here, we would like to add to maybe our nuisance ordinance that intentionally releasing Mylar or latex balloons are prohibited. And I did forward you Margate's ordinance. They simply amended an ordinance that they had, and they just added to that ordinance. So I did send you a copy of it. Does anybody have any questions? Would anyone from the public like to come up and speak about the release?
John?
John Pucci, 100 Sheridan Square. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, John.
And City
Are
Council.
you speaking about helium balloons?
The intentional release of
Right,
helium
well,
balloons.
Yes. Councilwoman McClay, one thing that I've noticed the past couple of years is sometimes real estate offices on their signs put those balloons on. You go by in the beginning of the day, they're there, and if it's a windy day, later in the afternoon, they're not. So, you know, if the concept is not to have them get into the environment, you might want to consider that application also may not be necessary to sell, to propagate the real estate advertisement. Maybe the sign is enough, but I've seen them on signs, and then I've also seen them, around the signs blow away. So it was just another idea where it may not be applicable to have those helium balloons. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, you're going to forward the Margate ordinance?
Yes, I did forward it to the city manager. I don't know if it was shared with everyone yet, but I can forward it again, and we can revise it. It's a easy, simple ordinance, and just amend something we currently have. And, yeah, would you like to come up and speak? Sure.
My name's still Bill Stumpfig. Yeah, I live in Ocean City, and you've all heard of Night in Venice. It's a giant, crazy party in Ocean City. I also live with Carolyn on the Tuckahoe River, and the next day we were taking the boat back up there, and we found literally hundreds of balloons in the water. So I went to City Council there, and they passed, the Rules Committee for Night in Venice right away said, we're going to discourage uses of balloons. So that's probably half of them that will ever go in the environment, for the whole year in Ocean City. And they're looking at the ordinance also. They haven't gotten this far with it. We're supposed to meet with some people. But my other life, I'm a volunteer for Fish and Wildlife, and I take care of osprey. I band osprey. I'm a federal bander. And osprey are trash collectors. Every nest has crazy stuff in it, and every year I'm untangling osprey, which sometimes that's dangerous because you get a big osprey that wants to take my head off instead of letting me take the fishing line off of him. So from a safety standpoint, for my own health, I would like less balloons in it. So it's fishing line and balloons. Balloons, the ribbons behind them, they just love to pick them up and take them back to their nest. I don't know what they get out of it, but they love to. So I would love to see something keeping the balloons out of the environment. Thank you. Thanks.
I'm Steve Giesecke from Margate, and I was instrumental in helping to get Margate to pass the balloon ordinance. The balloon ordinance was actually brought about by our business association because they're all boaters and they're constantly bringing balloons back from the ocean, and it is a serious problem. So we passed that ordinance to start trying to get people to become more aware, and then the balloons are a large problem, a very big problem. I did a lot of research, and one of the things that kind of surprised me is helium. That helium is actually getting to be in short supply. Helium is formed kind of like coal and oil is. It's actually radioactive decay from the rocks, and it's trapped inside the rocks. So when that helium escapes, it goes into the atmosphere. It's lighter than air, and it's gone forever. It's very important. It's a very important element because it's used to cool the MRI machines, all kinds of scientific machines, cleaning up the rocket engine fuels to clean them out. So it is a serious thing, and it is going to start happening where the Medical Association is going to want to start seeing the bans on helium balloons, well, the selling of helium for them. So it's a serious issue. I encourage you to read. I encourage you to do your own research to make sure that, you know, like I'm speaking the truth here, that helium is in short supply, and it is a serious issue with the dolphins and the animals and all kinds of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and I trust your research.
Yeah, can I ask you one question, Steve? In line with what Mr. Pucci just asked about with the use of balloons for real estate sale signs and open house signs, does Margate's ordinance extend to that use, or is it just the intentional release?
No, it's the intentional release of balloons. I would like to see it go a lot further, but we would really like to see encouraging of using banners or streamers or anything that will not be released into the air. I think it's more of an attention getter anyway, but the balloons, we'd like to see them come on their own and decide that this is not really a good idea to be using balloons for this reason, because we are a shore area. And it would be good if we start thinking like shore areas and start saying like, no, we're not going to endanger our oceans and our beaches. So it'll tell the world that we are looking at this.
And Steve, you just wrote an article. Was it published yet in the local paper?
It might be in our Down Beach Current this week.
If we can get Down Beach Current to publish up in our edition here, that would be great for the public to read. Maybe they can do that. Ask.
See what I can do about that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. It's definitely a step in the right direction with something like this, and I want to thank all the people in the community and the organizations that are here tonight and brought this to our attention. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And we're not really in public participation yet, so we don't want to set any precedents that every discussion we have, we're going to have, we are going to go into the formal public participation at this time. So is there any more discussion from council?
Yeah. Just final thought on the real estate signs and the use of balloons. I don't know that that's something that we would need to include if we were to move forward with a ban on intentional releases. I don't know that I would say we would need to include a ban on that type of use, but maybe we could, we being the manager, could reach out if council was in agreement and just talk to the realtors and see if they might consider voluntarily opting not to use balloons, because you do have a lot of other alternatives. You've got, you know, banners and pinwheels and other attention-getting things, none of which pose the same problems that the balloons do.
And typically those are on the open house signs, which we may want to look at our sign ordinance. I'm not sure they're in compliance as it is right now when they're put all the street ends pointing people all over the place, and then we attach balloons to them, it might be a little, if we could just take a look at that, I think it may be something that, and believe me, there's nothing, we don't want to discourage the real estate industry either, but simple open house sign might be enough.
I do have one more comment, not to take away from the monofilament and or the plastic bag issue. I would just like to state to council and bring up again, we do have an issue with the plastic bag ordinances that we discussed a while back. And I would also like to remind everybody that hopefully in the near future, we can bring that to the table again and address that along with these issues for the oceans. Maybe sometime we can get together, Steve. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Whether it's a plastic bag or a balloon, you know, they endanger the oceans. I grew up in the oceans. I love surfing the waters. I think we all agree we're all the gateways to the ocean. So I'd just like to remind everybody here in Brigantine, along with the monofilament and or the balloons, please let's revisit the plastic bag too. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to, Vince?
Yeah. I wanted to make everybody aware of a program, and I don't know if the rest of council knows about this, but it's the Home Keepers program. Today, we passed a resolution opposing North Jersey casinos, but there's a number of people who have lost their homes and a lot of people who are in trouble. I had a conversation with Sheriff Ballas last week where we talked about the number of sheriff sales that are going on in the county. And even right here in Brigantine, through this Home Keepers program, people who are eligible can get up to $48,000 to help pay back taxes and help with your mortgage. So if there's people out there who are in trouble, you can contact Assemblyman Chris Brown's office, or you can contact Sheriff Frank Ballas' office, and they can put you in contact and get you set up with those programs. And I think it's something really important. Probably one of the worst things you can have for a community, and we see this a lot on the main line, is having a lot of abandoned homes, and it's good to see the state taking an initiative to help keep people in their homes. So I wanted to make sure that council is aware of that and everybody at home knows about that program right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Ed, do you want to give an update on the construction for the re-signalization? I know people are seeing the signs out on the boulevard coming in.
Sure, Mayor. The county is preparing to start the re-signalization project. That'll start at Harbor Beach Boulevard and Brigantine Boulevard, and then also 30 A Street and Brigantine Boulevard. You see the signs, the variable message board signs, so that's coming. You also saw some construction out on Bayshore Avenue. That's gas company work, unfortunately. The electric company is in town doing tree trimming below their electric lines, and we have the ongoing streetscape project that is working its way back towards 14th Street, and by all accounts seems to be moving pretty smoothly. But the county work, the re-signalization for Harbor Beach Boulevard and for 38th Street, that will be starting in the very near future.
Great. Okay. At this point, I'm going to open the meeting for public comment. Anyone who would like to address council on any issue, please step forward, use the microphone, and state your name and address for the record. Yes, John.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. Council, if I may, Councilman DeLucre, I have also thought in the past of approaching the real estate offices to ask for their volunteering of not using the balloons, and as a community involvement, if the city manager needs assistance in that, if he would like to draw up the letter, I will personally go around to each real estate office, ask them to sign it and present it back to the city manager to present to council. I will assist that personally if you see fit that that's proper. Also, maybe at the north end, we could have, would be an additional spot to put one of those monofilament disposal units, because you have a lot of fishermen go up there, and if they see it with a nice looking sign, they may think, well, I didn't get any fish today, let me top it something, gather up all my monofilament and put it in one of those. So maybe at the north end up by the air pump or something, as they're coming off, could be an additional spot for one of those. Okay. I'd like to state tonight, I'm very happy tonight because this is a happy meeting, especially for the month of October. The whole agenda, the vote was yes, 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 yes. And council, I think that, and Mayor, I think that's a reflection of your administration and how your administration presents the agenda to council for approval. So I wanted to thank everybody involved and having a happy medium tonight. Happy meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Welcome.
I'm not done yet.
You're going to do a Columbo, huh?
I understand Councilwoman Bew is working on a master calendar. It was mentioned earlier in the meeting about a possible conflict next year with the farmers market and anything else that's going on in Brigantine, because I know sometimes you have 3 things to go to in one day or one evening. So if Council Member Bew would like to add anything to that master calendar that she's working on, possibly for the website, it's something everybody could go to and see there's something already scheduled and not have conflicts with other organization events in Brigantine.
This is something we're going to be working on very, very quickly, very soon, to try to get it on the website and all through the city manager's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, sometimes it's the small things. I'm a proud member of the Brigantine Garden Club now. And I'm not here to tonight officially represent them, but just to let you know that several members are discussing a butterfly sanctuary. I believe I brought this up at council maybe last year or the year before, that maybe we could develop these sanctuaries that during their migration north and south, that they have some place to stop and rest and eat and move on. So just to give you a what's up in the future, there may be a presentation to council with some more information that this could be good for Brigantine. There are currently butterfly sanctuaries down in Cape May that are actually destinations, tourist destinations. People go there to see them. So in the future, it'll come up.
That's exciting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, Mrs. Phillips.
Excuse me, Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street. I have 3 topics. I'll read through them all and request your comments at the end, please. 1, we've been told that the city solicitor is to meet with representatives of private groups which are receiving public revenue. Have these discussions taken place? The primary duty of a governing body is to act legally and to be accountable publicly for the use of resources and public money. And this should not be a campaign partisan issue. And unfortunately, it has become one, and I say shamelessly also, for there is what I consider an outrageous ad with malicious false charges in a local paper. And things like this, these charges do not inspire public trust in government. So I think as an issue, it needs to be discussed purely as an issue of policy, not as a political issue. Number 2, there are articles and rumors about the gas station at the Lighthouse Circle. My concern is for the truth and also for traffic safety in what is a congested area. So perhaps this evening you can give us some facts about what is taking place. I have read some of the articles, but then there, as I said, there are rumors, and it is an area, I think, of which needs some review, perhaps because traffic safety is an issue there, going around the circle, getting on Bay Shore, and so on. So I think that's something that council should clarify and discuss. And 3, there have been ads in the paper recently. In fact, there's one, I think, in this week's paper, and it is by a concerned Brigantine citizen. I have no idea who this person is, but the ad, I think, is thought-provoking and does ask some interesting questions. And I'm just going to read it, it's short, and see what you have to think about it. And again, not in
Well,
a
Mrs. Phillips,
partisan...
Is it a political ad? I don't know if that's
No, it's not a
appropriate to read at
political
council.
ad. It's not a political ad. It's an issue of a concern on somebody's part who's concerned enough to pay to put an ad in it. And as far as I know, it has no political connection. But it does raise issues, which I think are a concern to all of us. So here it is. Empty restaurants, empty promises, empty stores, empty school, and empty pockets, and a great big why. So if you can think of that.
That's not a political ad.
No, it isn't
No.
a political ad. It's a community.
Thank you, Mrs.
And,
Phillips.
oh, yes, just to brush it off. And Mayor Gunther, I asked for comment from everybody here.
You can ask, Mrs. Phillips, but thank you.
Well, I hope that it's forthcoming, and from everybody, not just you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We almost made it through the meeting without a political statement.
Just wait.
Mr. Stinson, you want to comment on the gas station? I know you wrote a letter clarifying the issue.
I guess as in terms of truth versus rumors, I'll stand behind the letter that I wrote. I tried to present it in a very factual manner, and that is the truth. So there was a violation at the site. It consists of 3 containers that were added to the back of the existing building that expanded the use at that site. Those of us who are familiar with planning law, if you expand the use of a commercial property, that needs to be done or needs to have land use approval through the planning zoning board process. That did not happen. Also, those of us who are familiar with any building project, anytime you modify structures, you add on to your property, you need construction permits. That also did not happen. These structures and that condition was brought to my attention last year in January. I met with the owner or the operator of the property along with the construction official and the zoning officer, and we had several meetings also with their professionals to guide them to the planning board, get them through the land use approval process, which once that would be obtained, you then go into the construction approval process, which would be the building permits. It's been almost 2 years. That did not happen. There were attempts to submit an application before the planning board, but they were deemed incomplete by our professional, by the planning board professionals. Needed additional information. I understand at this point, and I have received a letter from the applicant that he is purchasing a different property and he's going to move, and he'll have the structures removed. He also went before the court, municipal court here, and the judge gave him till sometime in November to have those structures removed from the site. Once the structures are gone, there's no violation, right? The violation was the land use, the lack of land use approval and the lack of construction permits. Once that's removed, then that violation goes away.
Are we in public comment? May I respond?
We are in public comment. You want to respond about the gas station?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what Mr. Simpson said.
Sure.
I understand the facts completely, but what I don't understand about the situation at the gas station is that for 10 years, he was issued a mercantile license to continue to conduct business, and nothing was ever done for 10 years about the structures. And I'm sure someone in the city knew about them. And I was just wondering why now, after all that time, and costing the business owner tens of thousands of dollars in whatever fees he incurred due to this whole process. So why did it take so long, and now all of a sudden? I guess that's just the answer I'm looking for.
So I'll start with, it isn't all of a sudden. It was January of 2015. And it comes about as most of our, unfortunately, as most of our zoning complaints occur, it is residents that come to the city to complain. And that's unfortunate, but that is how most of it happens. And that's how it happened with this. And as I explained to council in executive session, when I have residents in that area, residential property owners from that area come in and hand me our land use ordinance, open it to the section and point to it and say, do your job. Do your job. This is in violation. Do your job. I go out there, I take that obviously seriously. I go out there with our zoning officer, and I'll be honest, I was not aware of those structures in the back. I don't know that you were. I don't know that anybody was, but I wasn't. But when I go there, in response to a complaint with our zoning officer, and I see what was there, and I understand that there were no approvals because I was on the planning board as their engineer for probably those 10 years. And the other thing is, I don't know that, my understanding, and that comes from the applicant himself, the 3 structures that I noted to be in violation were not there for 10 years. Maybe one was put there some time ago, and then a second one was added on to that later, and then a third one came even after that. But all 3 of them were not there. But nonetheless, maybe we could be more diligent. I wasn't in the zoning office back that long ago. I wasn't even with the city back that long ago. But nonetheless, when it is brought to our attention that there is a condition that is in violation, we went to investigate. We determined that it was. I thought, took appropriate action. We met with the owner and we said, look, this is what you need to do. This needs to have land use approval. You got to go to the planning board. Then, if you get that approval, you need to go and get construction permits. Because we don't want anybody to get hurt in there. Not, it's not public going to be in there, but the workers that work there, or maybe clients that go there, if something happens in those structures during the operation of that business and somebody gets hurt, I don't want to see that happen, number one. That's why we have these rules. That's why you have to have land use approval, then you have to have construction permit approval. He had neither. So again, maybe the city could have noted it 5 years earlier, but nonetheless, when it was brought to our attention, we took appropriate action. We did not force him to shut down. We worked with him to get through the land use process, but he was not able to do it. Then in his decision to withdraw the application and move somewhere else. And by the way, it had nothing to do with the gas station, right? This was strictly the expansion of the mechanic shop, of the garage, the expansion of that garage without land use approval and without construction of permits. That was what the violation was. And that's what I tried to emphasize in my letter.
I'd like to speak up. I mean, I didn't know we were going to get into this tonight either. Presently being the 3rd Ward councilman, I've spoken with a lot of parties involved in this. I've been down at your office a couple times, Ed. I've spoken to Dave. I've spoken to some other people involved. Walking the streets now during this political climate, there's a lot of feedback on that. I don't know if I want to get to cover everything right now, I do respect what Ed's saying from an engineering standpoint. I know there's safety issues. If it was going on for a long time, whether it was on Ed's watch or not, he explained to me he's trying to do the right thing now. But I do agree with Councilwoman McClay in the fact that I'm not saying a precedent was set. Obviously, code is code. Those sheds did withstand Sandy. They have been there a long time. I know the owner, when I spoke to him, Dave said he has no problem bringing them up to code. The question is, up to what code? I think one of the deciding factors here is, and this is what it all boils down to, the money that it will cost in order to rip those sheds down, put in a foundation and build a structure versus maintaining a shed where it is. Now, I know the Dave's attorneys and or engineering firm have looked into it. They did submit papers. I haven't looked myself yet, but it was said that our ordinances do not prevent that shed from being there with hurricane clamps and or a certain concrete foundation. It seems as though the only thing he would need for the main shed to be there would be possibly a D variance for a 5-foot setback from the building. My question would be, and believe me, there's other things we can discuss here, is why wouldn't the city, all of us together, and before I say this, he's not moving to that other property voluntarily. He's doing it because he has to, because he does not have the monies in order to potentially bring the property up to code, the full property, because he is under the impression that once he starts digging a foundation, which he was told he needs, that once he digs into the ground, he has to upscale the entire property, which is a lot of money he does not have. That being said, it comes into question whether or not he is allowed to have that shed there, regardless of the past, and upgrading it even electrically, which would be a lot less money. Believe me when I tell you, Dave would love to stay on that property. He would love to upgrade that shed. If the shed was allowed to be left on the concrete slab, bolted down as it is, added with hurricane slabs, and or upgrading the shed with electric. As for the entrances to the front and back, you can get through the shed front and back. Once you are in that shed, you are not locked in there. My question to everybody here in council is, and to Fred and Ed, there are other properties that have variances for sheds and storage facilities. I believe Dave was told at the new property, if he wanted to, he could have a permit for a temporary storage unit out in front of that property that could stay there indefinitely. If that is the case, why can't we work with him before he's forced into a settlement at a property, which he explained to me he may very well want to purchase the property anyway and maintain both, but not be forced out of what he feels this lease. So again, my question is, can the shed stay there? And from what I see, and I was told by his engineering firm, and I believe even our engineering firm, said a D variance, I believe it was said, could be issued to him. So can we work together here to keep him on that property?
So, a couple thoughts. One is I've been working, the city has been working with him for 2 years now, since we sent him the notice of violation. We have met with him, we being the construction official, the zoning officer, myself, the planning board engineer, and the planning board planner, all different times, sometimes together, sometimes different, but we've been working with him and his professionals this whole time. There is a process. It is the land use process. It goes to the planning/zoning board. It is separate and independent from this council. They need land use approval, and that body needs to review our ordinances and make decisions on this application. It's up to them. No, this council could, I assume, change the land use ordinance to, to whatever. But I think that is kind of capricious, and I don't think that's a very
Well,
good idea.
I'm not asking us to
It's-
change the land
it-
use, but
it is
Ed,
a
in all due
process,
respect.
sir. It's a process that
I know.
should be followed, which he did not. To answer your second question, can he leave that shed there, bolt it down, add hurricane straps? That is construction department review. There is a uniform construction code.
Correct.
That must be followed, not council. I'm sorry, council, you don't have that decision. That is the construction code official following the uniform construction code.
So my
it's just
question
that the
is,
process has
and,
to
and you're right,
happen.
and I don't, but I've looked into it, and my question to you is that structure, as is, allowed to stay on a concrete slab with hurricane straps?
I thought you were talking about 3 structures.
There are 3 structures.
There are 3, but the main shed is what I'm discussing now, and yes, the other sheds. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I've talked to a lot of parties involved. I've looked at paperwork. I do want to say that there's a little bit of discrepancy here as to whether or not Dave was in front of the planning board. Now, he didn't go in front of the planning board. However, and Ed, when I was in your office, it was stated that he was taking off of the agenda because his paperwork was not done correctly, if you will, and I understand that. Now, when I spoke to him, it's been said that he canceled or he retracted. He was taken off the agenda there, I guess a day or 2 before it was supposed to happen. Now, that being said, I know it's been drug out. Again, being the third ward councilman, I'm trying to step into a situation where the constituents are very concerned on the whole island, between both of our auto suppliers, if you will. And I think right now, we seriously need to look into whether or not there are ordinances being broken there. I understand about inspection, I understand the code, I understand, that's where Rich Stevens comes in and he makes a call as an inspector. I understand that the planning board makes a call on the D variances. However, I don't think everybody's working together here and seeing the bigger picture of keeping a viable business there where it's located, where even if he does move the other property, which by the way, from what I understand, he would like to purchase anyway and have them both in order to relieve the parking issue. However, he does not want to leave that property voluntarily, and I do think there are some things here we need to look at.
Councilman, can
John, why don't you let Mr. Stinson lay out the facts?
Go ahead.
There's a lot of supposition here, and I'd like to hear.
Well, I have been in the
from-
office a couple times. I'm not criticizing. Ed's
I
been very good
understand.
about it. Ed's been very good about it, but I still owe it to Dave and the people,
Well,
Brigantine,
the other
to
thing
make
would be
sure.
very naive
Go ahead.
for anyone to think that there have not been complaints about the operation of that facility for however long it's been there.
Oh, I never said that. I've talked to a couple of people right there in the
It's
neighborhood.
been
I understand.
a problem for years. Different problems, but this is,
So
Okay.
I would like council to understand, I'd like everybody to understand that, I believe very strongly, without actually any doubt, that we have made every attempt to work with the operator of that garage to bring that property into conformance. That means meeting with them, meeting with his professionals, having available our zoning officer, our construction officer, to meet with them, to guide them, to help them, have our planning, board planner, and engineer do the same. We have been doing this for 18 months now. What should happen if he removes the 3 sheds, remove the 3 sheds, the unsafe sheds that were constructed, added on there without any permits, without any land use approval, without any construction approval, remove them. He can stay in business. He can operate his garage. The gas station, which is, as I understand it from the applicant, that's completely separate from him, that stays. Everything stays. Just remove the illegal structures. That's it. That's all we're saying.
I understand.
And whether they were there before or not.
Right.
The process, there is a process. It's a legal process. It has to happen. When you go to get construction permits, the first step is a zoning review. It's the same with commercial property, except that zoning review is the planning board application. So before I can answer your questions about whether or not those trailers can stay, he has to have land use approval. Get the land use approval, then go to the construction office. And it is the construction official who has that answer. I don't have that answer. I am not a construction official.
I understand.
There's nothing that we can do beyond that. This applicant has had, it's 20 months, it's more than 20 months now, that he has had to get things together, to come to the planning board, to get that land use approval, and he has not been able to do that. And yes, I did explain to you, he made an application, it was deemed incomplete by the board professionals. When it's deemed incomplete, they say, here's why,
Okay, now, can I
make
ask you,
these revisions.
on record,
Can I finish?
who is that person, though? I'm a little unclear. That could be subjective, considering his engineering firm and his lawyer did submit it. It's not stick figures. So who makes that call on whether or not your paperwork days before you're to appear
No, that's
is...
not the case. It's not days before. There is a cutoff for the next meeting. Okay, so if we have a meeting at the fourth Wednesday of a month, the beginning of the month is the cutoff for that meeting. You have to have all your information turned over, deemed complete, so that then the board planner and the board engineer has the time to do their review, and there's time enough to get that information, that application, posted in the library and posted here for any of the neighbors that want to come out to see. So it isn't days before the meeting that it's canceled. It's days before that deadline. He resubmits for this next month's meeting. It's reviewed, and the information that was requested was not submitted, or was not sufficiently submitted. So he was called, or his attorney was called, and said, look, you need to get this. This is what's missing. Can you do it in the next 3-4 days so that you meet that deadline so you can be heard at the end of the month? And their answer was no.
Okay, so
And let me finish. Then, after that, I get a letter from the applicant saying, I will remove the sheds within 60 days or 45 days. I forget, I have the letter in my office. Might have even been sooner. I will remove the sheds within 45 days. I said, okay. You remove the sheds, the violation goes away. Never happened.
Right.
Never happened.
No, and I
So
spoke
then he
to...
goes to the court, and the judge makes the ruling.
John, the last thing this body wants to get involved in is zoning, and especially a zoning application that's going before the zoning board. We should not be involved in that. And you have board professionals, you have a process that's set up, you have a city solicitor, you have a solicitor for the planning board. If there's an issue, they ought to deal with it. But
And I know they are, and I understand it.
But you
All
can't,
due
you
respect.
can't ask them, to change their decisions. You can't ask a professional. An application's either complete or it's not complete. It has all the elements that the board will ultimately need to make a decision.
All due respect, I understand where you're going with that. I understand the process. I did not ask anybody to change their decisions. We had a constituent come up here. We were almost through the meeting. It's brought up. I am the third ward councilman.
Right.
I take this seriously. I've been by discussing this with people all summer and into the fall. I don't know how many other people, anybody here has been in discussion with it. I know it's a hot topic. I know we're concerned about businesses closing, moving off the island. I know we're concerned about having a mechanic, not a mechanic, good mechanics, businesses and jobs.
Affordable gas.
Okay, affordable gas. Again, I think what I've stated so far is reasonable. I'm being rational. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not asking any of that. All things considered, the main point I brought up, and even though there's professionals that do this, and they are doing it, and they are doing their job, I never say anybody wasn't. I asked us to reconsider the fact that, it seems to me, because I looked over the ordinance, the shed versus building a foundation.
It's not our reconsideration at this level unless we're willing to change the zoning ordinance.
No,
to
it's
allow-
not in the ordinance, that's my point. The ordinance does,
There are auxiliary buildings and structures are in the ordinance.
from what I understand, and again,
And
there's
setbacks are defined in the
Pongio Engineering and Dixon Engineering, and the lawyers submitted the plan. They looked through our ordinance, and from what they say, two engineering firms, that the way it is there now, and I understand it, it was put there before without a permit. It's been there for some time. What's done is done. It's been inspected by people in our city for some time. What's done is done. Moving forward, I do feel like it's my responsibility to speak up for somebody who doesn't feel like he has a voice, is frustrated, and withdrew only because he spent so much money and he's given up.
Well, from what
So
it
it
sounds...
is my
No, I
responsibility to
understand,
step up.
and
And I'd like Andy to speak on this, because recently I saw a picture of him with Dave on Facebook, and I'd like for him to speak up, have a non-bipartisan decision here to try to move forward as council
There's
people.
no decision for this
We're not
body to
making a
make.
decision, we're not making a decision, but we do have some influence in this city. That's why we're here,
Well,
to do right by the constituents.
But
If we
once-
move forward as a body and ask everybody to reconsider, look into it, to keep a man in business who's been servicing this city for so long and doing a lot of favors.
First of all...
Dave would have to reconsider and go in front of the planning board.
And-
That's what he would have to do.
All right, well, let's
Or
give him
take
more
the
time and let him
structures
do
down
that
and
then.
call it a day.
We would, all of us, I think, would agree that we want all businesses to be successful, but we want them to operate in compliance with the law. And there is a process that is set up. You know, just because something had been there for a couple, I don't know how many years it had been there, and I have purchased gas there, to be honest with you, I don't go behind the place to see what's behind there. It is behind a fence, but the issue you run into is just because something's been in violation for a number of years, it's like you may do 40 miles an hour on Bay Shore Avenue for 2 weeks. One day you're going to get a ticket. So your argument can't be, I did 40 miles an hour for 14 days, but on the 15th day you gave me the ticket.
I understand your
So
analogy. I
it is a...
don't know that it applies
There
here.
is a process in place, but we have professionals. Sounds to me like city manager and the professionals has spent, I don't know how much time you spent with Mr. DeFanction trying to work this out so that he can stay in business. And the other question, the simple solution is, and I don't know how integral these sheds are to the operation of a mechanics business, but the simple solution is remove the structures and,
Right.
and you're in compliance.
The problem with that is, and again, I'm not arguing the fact that they were put there potentially, I don't want to use the word illegally, but they're very important to his business because without the shed, which he uses as another unit to service cars, his volume goes way down. His turnover rate goes way down. Even with the new place he's building, it becomes an issue. I mean, the new place he may buy, it becomes an issue. Again, I've given this a lot of thought. I didn't realize it was going to come up tonight. I've been there, I've spoken to Ed, I've spoken to Dave, I've spoken to some other people involved.
I think-
Again, I'm asking us to, as a group and as a city and as a council and as a planning board and as a city manager, to work with somebody, because the next question I want to ask is, have we worked with anybody else in the past in these types of issues? It's been brought to my attention by people, there are other issues in this town where these same things have happened, whether it's before, pre or post permit, and we have worked with people. There are sheds, there are storage facilities at other businesses. There are other variances that have been given even next door to him recently with the Laragosa. There are a lot of variances that have been given and leeway given.
Right, but John, variances are given by the planning and zoning board,
I
not by
understand
city
that.
council.
I understand
In
that.
fact, the only time that we could possibly weigh in, I guess, if we want to appeal a decision that's been made at some point. But a lot of things you said really concern me.
Okay.
Probably the biggest one that concerns me is that we're using a shed, someone is using a shed as a service bay for an automobile repair shop. That is, I'm not an expert in that area, but I have to tell you that is probably not what it's intended to be used for, and probably does not have all of the requirements
I
that
don't
are
think I used the word
necessary for
service,
that
right?
use. But I'll turn it back over to our city manager.
Well, I don't think I used the word service,
Wanted-
but
I
wanted
think you
to-
did.
I would like to assure council, assure everyone that I have done everything that I can to work with this operator. I will continue to be available and make available our zoning officer and our construction official, and we'll do whatever we can to help. And that's what we told the operator back in January and in March and in April when we met with them, and again in the fall and again earlier this year. We will try, but I urge council to at least respect the process. Respect the land use law. If you're going to expand the use, and Councilman, exactly what you said is the reason it does go before the planning board. If there's an expansion of that use that increases his volume, that increases the intensity on that property, it's land use. It belongs in front of the planning board.
I agree with that. I understand
So
that.
then have him do that.
He
or
did.
Have him remove the violation.
Days before, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I
already did.
was going to show
I already
up
did.
there.
It was not days before the meeting. It was days before the deadline, early in the month, to get on the agenda for that end of the month meeting. So it was at least 3 weeks before
Can
the
I ask you,
meeting.
I mean, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I apologize to the public, but I believe I was going to be down here for that meeting. And so were a lot of other people. And it was literally a couple days before. We were told, don't go, because it's not going to be an agenda. Now, that means either somebody got the phone call and whoever forgot to tell everybody not to be there for 3 weeks, or it was a couple days before Dave and his lawyer got the phone call stating you're no longer on the agenda. Somebody's wrong here. Somebody's wrong here with their dates. Because I know up until a few days before, I was going to be there too to hear what was going on. So I don't know.
Any of the professionals who would represent someone before this planning board are well aware of the process that they have to go through to have an application put before the board to be deemed complete and to have it heard before the board. I don't know what was missing. Never had that conversation with Ed Stinson. What was missing from the application. But as a I don't know, you mentioned a couple of professionals who appear before the board all the time. They know exactly what is needed to put an application before the planning and zoning board.
Okay. And I do want to go on record saying, when I met with Ed, you were very thorough about it. You explained your concerns. I understand that and the safety of those. What I'm here to say is, all Dave wanted to do up until now, tell him what to do to make him safe, he'll make him safe. And I know that was with, with Rich Stevens and inspection. However, again, when I started my statement, it was about whether or not they come down, foundation has to be built, which brings in a whole nother thing, or whether or not the shed could be there. Dave's attorneys and engineers have said our ordinance allows for that shed to be there the way it is if we get a D variance, strictly for the 5-foot setback. That's all I'm saying. If that shed can be there with that 5-foot setback with a D variance for that, because it's only inches right now, do we go ahead and allow him to upgrade that shed and use it for what he needs to use it for?
And
That's all I'm asking.
I'm going to ask our solicitor first of all, you have an independent planning and zoning board. You have an application process that has to come before the board. This body does not tell the board what to do. In
I know.
fact, I would deem it probably illegal, wouldn't you say, Mr. Cerny, if we told the board that we need to grant a 5-foot variance to this? You can't do that. That's
I never said for us to do it. I said that's what he needed, and I said his engineering firm, our engineering firm, apparently, the Pongio, Dickinson, and his attorney are questioning where in our ordinance can we enforce something that's not in our ordinance. I'm asking you, is it in our ordinance that he can't do that? And if so, who's saying it is?
Hey, you must know the ordinance inside and out.
Councilman, the applicant is required to go to the planning board to obtain land use approval, the D variance and whatever variance, whatever C variances he needs for setbacks, et cetera. The planning board does not approve whether it is a metal structure, whether it is a container truck that backs up, that they
Right.
don't approve that. They say you can expand your use into this space with these setbacks and things like that. They can, because it's a D variance, they can look at the aesthetics. They can say,
Sure.
we want it to be certain, certain aesthetics. That's their purview. It then, once it receives the planning board, the land use approval, it has to get construction permits. The questions you're asking, the specific questions you're asking for me to guarantee you tonight, that's not me, that's the construction.
I'm not
office.
asking for any guarantees.
It has to be approved. He has to get construction permits, and whatever is there has to comply with the construction.
I understand
permit. So the answer is, he's got to go through that process. I can't tell you that. He has to go. I can't tell you what the planning board's going to do, right? He has to go through that process or remove the sheds. It's the same conversation we've had for 20 months.
Let me reverse the
22.
process. If the applicant came to the construction office and said, I want to put in 3 sheds or a container truck and 2 sheds or whatever it is, and asked for a permit to do that, what would have happened?
It would have been kicked out on zoning review. So it would never have made it to the building construction review. It would have been kicked out on zoning because it's a commercial property. They're expanding the use. It would need land use approval through the planning zoning board. It would have to go there before it gets any review of the construction. Once they get the approval, the land use approval to do it, then it goes for building permits. And all of that, in a perfect world, would have been done before he actually did the work.
Okay, and I understand the chronological order of events and the way things should happen. And again, I'm here to say, as a spokesperson, after gathering quite a few facts, and I'm not saying I have them all, that's why I'm stating this, even though that's the order of events, we all know things happen from people talking.
What do we know? I'm not sure.
Dave has been told that regardless, those sheds will never be passed for inspection. Even if, let's say in theory, hypothetically, that he got a D variance and they okayed him, that without a foundation and a new structure, they'd never be passed. So again, if, hypothetically, he was in front of the board, planning board, got a D variance for the space, then said, okay, I want the sheds there because our ordinance as it is now allows that. He's being told, no, it's not. There's got to be a foundation, and that's, again, getting back to what I said, shed versus foundation. I'm not asking anybody up here to make a decision. I'm simply saying he was already told this. So
he was advised
we need to reconsider
by our
as a city,
construction
as a group,
official. He was advised by the construction official that the Uniform Construction Code would not permit those structures. If that's the case, then I guess you got your answer.
But his lawyers and engineers are saying that's not in our code.
Well, they're not construction code.
Okay, I understand that,
You're
but-
mixing, sir, you are mixing two parts of this.
Well, I think their attorney's been very thorough.
There's a land use part.
I understand.
Okay, which is go to the planning board, get your approval. Then there's the construction part.
Right.
That's the state, that's a uniform.
I'm not confusing it, I
construction
understand it.
Well,
I just said,
attorneys
hypothetically
you spoke
speaking-
with, the attorneys that you're telling me you spoke with, they don't know the construction code, apparently. Our construction official.
Okay, all right, now we're getting to what I'm getting at. Their attorneys are being paid, I assume, are reading through this code, and I was told they were, and his engineers, and they said, as the code reads. So you tell me, Ed, I don't know, does the code read that he can or cannot do it?
John,
I've already answered you,
We
sir.
could argue this all night, and I
Okay.
think we spent way too much time
All
on
right.
it, and probably some things have been said that perhaps should not have been said. We are in the public portion of the meeting. Mrs. Phillips did throw out 3 questions,
Yes.
and we are, the one was about the gas station. The other was about some political ad that you read in the newspaper.
Yeah. No.
No, and the, what was the first one again, Mrs. Phillips? Yes, and yes. Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Mr. Stinson, you want to address that? Yeah, hold on a second. Try to do this.
Jim Mogan and I have met with all the groups, and Fred and I are working on a service agreement for each particular group, which then we'll present to council.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else want to? Mr. Simpson, you asked.
Hate to get back on the gas station thing, but I heard on a radio talk host show come up, going into work, that Brigantine is going to only have one gas station. This gentleman, I keep telling him, we're going to have two, not always. It's up to the individuals. So I called the owner of the property. He was in the gas station business when I was in the gas station business. He said that he will continue on with the gas part of it if Dave moves out. And if Dave's purchasing the other piece of property at Brigantine Auto Body, he gave him notice that he was going to be moving out. So the gas station part of it, I want to tell everybody, is staying. He does have it leased, purchased with friendly lease or whatever. He has a bunch of his gas stations with this individual. So after 10 years, he pays $1 and gets the property. So he's into it for quite a long time, and I don't think the gentleman's going to walk away, he says. His name's John Brennan. Had a conversation for about a half an hour, 45 minutes with him. So the gas part of it, as of right now, as of what he told me the other day, is going to stay. If Dave, as I know, gave notice to move on, to leave his lease, gave his 30-day notice, and Dave's going to move over to the Brigantine Auto Body and continue to work on cars over there. So the situation with the sheds or anything, I'm not going to get involved with that, talk about land use and all that stuff. So we're still going to have cheap gasoline, or cheaper gasoline, and we're still going to have Dave on the island working someplace else. So, it's a win-win situation. Dave actually told me the other day that his rent or his mortgage payment is going to be a lot less than what he was paying in rent. So he's looking forward to that. John Withers said that I had a picture of myself with him, with Dave DeFanction, which I known practically his whole life, and his brother John. Somebody asked me to come down. Dave wanted to take a picture. He goes, I don't want to take a picture with you, but I'll take a picture with Andy Simpson. I got out of my office at the old Century 21 building and came down and took a picture with Dave. Had a conversation with him on the side. Wished him well. Anything I could do for him, I'm there for him. We even talked about his big 5-ton truck that he helps the city out with the snow and Superstorm Sandy and all that. I think Mike made arrangements with Ed to be able to park the 5-ton truck on one of our commercial properties. So, the city's working with him. I'm definitely working with him. He's been a friend. There's no animosity against Dave DeFanction, John DeFanction, or any DeFanction I know. So, win-win situation. We're still going to have cheap gas, and we're still going to have Dave DeFanction working on 33rd Street, and basically that's the bottom line on that.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yes, I got a comment.
Well, this is public comment.
Well, we've been talking.
Well, can we hear from the public? I think we've spent enough time on this issue, and
Back to it down here.
Yes,
is there anyone from the public who would like to speak?
Back to it here. Let him finish that.
Okay, I'm going to end the public comment. Any council comments?
I would like to thank the fire department for the fabulous Fire Prevention Week that they provided for our schools. Saturday morning was a fantastic event with tons of kids there. A lot of the firemen were there, and they had hot dogs and pizza, and the kids learned how to squirt the fire hoses, and got an opportunity to sit in the fire engines and the ambulances, and it really brightened up the days of a lot of kids and
Thank you.
grandparents.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mayor, if you don't mind, can I piggyback on that? Saturday was a phenomenal day. The weather was perfect, and our turnout was phenomenal. We were really pleased. I do have a list of a couple people, if you don't mind.
Sure.
If I just thank them. Obviously, without support from the local community, we wouldn't be able to do this kind of thing. So I just want to name a few people that really helped us out. And that's Brigantine Acme, Gucci Brothers, Dunkin' Donuts, Wawa, Dave from Brigantine Auto, along with Citywide Towing for providing the car that we cut up, Reverend Scotland and the Community Presbyterian Church for providing phenomenal face painters from the youth group, which was Samantha Grasler, Rosie Colony, Alessia Ross Terragino, Molly Knopf, and Natalia Argueta Rivas. And lastly, the members of my department who were cleaning up from the fire on Friday and getting everything, and they worked into the night to get the place perfect and presentable for the public. So, and thank you everybody who showed up. It was a wonderful day.
Thank you, Chief. And I want to express the great job that your department did with that fire. I know that it was one of those things that you never know exactly what you're running into, and certainly you were able to extinguish it quickly and minimize the impact. You know, fortunately, I guess the winds weren't as bad as they typically can be here in Brigantine, so great job. Chief?
Mayor, if I could make a quick announcement before you go into council comments. This Saturday at the Brigantine Community Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're going to have another Operation Take Back New Jersey. There'll be a medicine box there and members of our department where you can drop off any unused, old, or whatever medications. We accept everything except syringes and sharp objects. And for your own safety, if you have any personal information on your medicine bottles, take it off before you drop it to us. But thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other council comments?
Yes, I just wanted to say one more thing. I'll make it short. I think I made myself clear. Andy, you made a comment that Dave asked you to go down there to take a photo with you. I want to ask you, because I had just put up 2 political signs in the morning, and an hour later, I'm getting a phone call that one of my political signs was taken down. And miraculously, yourself and a few Republican running mates ended up down there within an hour taking a photo op. So I do not believe that Dave called you down there. Somehow or another, you guys ended up down there. The photo was taken, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's my personal opinion, that with my 2 political signs I put up there, it wasn't liked. You guys showed up, took mine down, put yours up, took a photo op. Something just doesn't seem right there.
I don't know if this is something we're going to talk about at a council meeting.
But,
I mean, this is not really...
I just want to clear that up.
It's not really council
I will
business.
tell you, he's right, because I witnessed it, and I was there, and I saw Andy there with 3 of his Republican candidates running, and it wasn't a nice situation, what I witnessed and what I saw, and some of the threatening remarks and comments I heard coming from some of them.
Well,
and there were other
But
people
I
that
witnessed it,
too.
I was there.
You know, once again,
I just
this is
had to
not
add on to
something
that.
that should be a topic at council.
It was brought up by constituent. I kept my comments to Dave as a business person to shed the foundation.
Well, the location of signs,
That's what
I
I kept my comments
don't
to.
think the location of signs was
That's what I
brought
kept
up
my
by a
comments to.
constituent. But
Well, the fact that Andy said he went down there because Dave asked him to go down there, I take exception to that.
I don't care what you take exception to,
Okay,
John.
all right. You're right. It's a coincidence that you guys scheduled a photo op right after I put my signs up.
The gentleman called me, asked me to come down and take a picture with Dave. I said, "You sure Dave wants me there?" He goes, "Yes." I went down there. I didn't drag him over to the sign and everything else. So we took a photograph. Then I went and talked to him off to the side. Lisa walked up. I said, "Give me a few minutes. Me and Dave are talking right now." Lisa left. I don't know what happened after that. And I had a conversation with Dave, and that was it. You know,
And your political sign went up and picture went on Facebook?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I'm not here playing any political games. I'm calling people out that are playing political games, okay?
Well, you know, once again, this is a council meeting, and the election should be separate from that.
You're absolutely right.
And that's one of the
You're
reasons I was a
absolutely
little uncomfortable with the...
I wish everybody here was down the middle of the road and doing the best for Brigantine.
I would hope that that would be the case. But, you know, once again, are there any other public comments at this time? I'm going to close.
We're in
the-
council comments.
Council comments,
And
rather?
I don't think we're finished.
You're not finished?
Are you finished, Councilman Sarah? Would you like to go?
I was going to
excuse
say
me,
something positive.
Excuse me.
He's
Liz.
he's down there signaling.
I understand that, but sometimes you have a tendency to want to run the meeting, and that is the prerogative of the
Well,
person who is
I'm
running
sorry,
the meeting.
you know.
Thank you.
There's no more gag order, so I'm allowed to speak, right?
No, you guys put the gag order on when you had the majority, but we took that off.
It's council comments, but you said public comments, so I was
appreciate
just
that.
correcting you, that's all.
Thank you. Councilman Sarah, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I just want to let people know that the Fourth Ward Residents Association is having their meeting. It's going to be 10 a.m. at the 10 a.m. on Saturday, the 22nd. It's going to be at the community center. So anybody in the Fourth Ward, and I don't know if it's open to the whole island, but I can't imagine it wouldn't be. But I wanted to let people know that was going on.
Thank you.
I have a few more.
Yes.
If I'm permitted.
Yes, if you would.
Okay, thank you. I do want to talk about our sign ordinance, and it's a little different. Chapter 256 on signs in our city code restricts signs from Hahnemann Bridge to the Lighthouse Circle on public access areas, public roads, correct?
I'll take the word for it. I don't.
Okay, so unless prior written approval is obtained by the city manager of the city of Brigantine, the placement of any and all signs within the jurisdiction of the city of Brigantine along the public right-of-way from the foot of the bridge to the southernmost section of the sidewalk at the Lighthouse Circle is hereby prohibited. So, there are signs along the boulevard, along St. George's Thoroughfare. I just want you to know, around the 4500 block, around the 4300 block, on that little strip of grass. And I believe that's public property. So I believe they're in violation of this ordinance, and I think they should be removed immediately.
I'll have the zoning officer look at it tomorrow.
Okay, any other council comments?
I have one comment to make. I want to thank and praise John Doring for no reason other than we haven't done it in a while.
Okay, seeing no other, anyone else? Seeing no other council comments, need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Once again, I want to thank everyone who came this evening and participated in the meeting, and also thank those of you who are viewing at home. Thank you.